Hello and welcome along to the start of another brand new season from this Dorking Wanderers save with me, Daniel. It's Season 8, Episode 1, and today we're back as always for our summer transfer special. We've had the most of any team in this league going out of the club leaving and coming in as new transfers as well. So it's certainly been a very active window. We've got one or two bits that we will still do before the end of the transfer deadline. That's of course at the end of August, a few matches into the season. But for today we're going to take you through all the ins and outs and talk about our changes for the squad this year. So we said in the end of season review last time that we weren't expecting a big revolution at the club this summer. You can put that to the sword already. We already found a few extra young players to bring in and we've rotated the squad a bit more as a result, and some of the backup players we got really good offers for and we had no choice but to let them leave the club. But firstly, before we go and look at all the ins and outs, a massive thank you to everyone who continues to follow the series. I really do appreciate it as we move into another year and hope you continue to enjoy it. If you are and you're looking forward to a big busy summer transfer special, please do put a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe for daily content from both of my long-term FM20 stories. The head coach the last 2 days, we've had lots of transfer action in that one too, as we started a brand new season in that one as well. That's a bit different. We're at a fourth club and they're tycoon owned as well, whereas this one we're back at little Dorking Wanderers, but we're doing a great job and we're moving through the leagues and I'm hoping we can chase a playoff place this year. However, the first thing I'm going to do is probably make a little bit of a warning and say that I don't think we've actually improved this summer, and that's in terms of on the pitch at the moment. I don't think we've made any improvement, but I think long term we've made big improvements. We've got some players in who have got high potential. We replaced some of the older backup players as well. So I think long term we're going to be in a really good position with this squad. But short term, probably not the biggest changeover. Maybe just competing for the playoffs if possible. We've got big sides in the league again this year. The likes of Charlton got relegated. The side we're managing in the head coach. And there's teams such as Barnsley and Bolton there as well. Bolton, of course, in the playoffs last season. Portsmouth still a big side, as are Sheffield Wednesday. So plenty for us to compete with at this level. The one other question before we go and look at the transfers that I have been asked a few times since the end of the last season is why haven't I shown you the youth intake? And there's a very good reason for that, to be honest. And that's because just like every other year, it's been pretty rubbish. So the highest potential player in our under-18s is 1-star potential with another star grade out. None of them are ever going to make it. I've given up kind of showing you the youth intakes at the moment. We'll wait until we get a little bit of an improvement in facilities, or of course if we luck out one year and get a good player, then we will come and have a little look at them. But at the moment, last year's was probably our worst ever intake, including all the years in non-league as well. So for that reason I didn't show you it. But let's go and get into the more exciting news, and that's the transfers in and out of the club. So firstly, as always, we start on the release players, and this time it's just 6 youngsters. Monshaju was one of the best players from an intake a few years ago. He's not even found a club and he didn't improve at all here, so he's not someone we're really going to miss that much. But if we move on to the ins and outs, you will see there is lots of action. Lots of outs, lots of ins, 3 players going for a fee, and there's one more potentially going for bigger money than all of them. And we've been working our socks off in the free agent market to get players in. You can see there's quite a few there. It's a mix of first teamers, backup players and ones that will loan out and hope for the future. But for now I'm really excited about where we are, and I think we've got a pretty good season ahead of us. But let's start with the outs as we always do. 3 players leaving on permanent transfers. So Aaron Bolger went to Bradford for 130 grand. We always signed him on a free as a backup player, hoping that we'd get big money for him. We've managed to do that, so good luck to him there. 27 appearances for us. He did make an impact off the bench a few times, but we're not going to miss him that greatly. Then Luke Boland went for nearly 60 grand to Motherwell. Just 3 appearances after coming in as our 4th choice centre half last year. We still haven't replaced him yet. In fact, we did today actually. I lie about that. The 1st of August we replaced him this morning, but a good player who's gone off to Motherwell. And then the last one in recent days, just yesterday in fact in game, Ogbene, the left winger last season. He was back up to Thompson, did force his way in eventually. We've got in a couple of good young wingers, and Ogbene was the least well rated of the 3, earning the most and the oldest. So for that reason we had to sell him on, and Wickham were prepared to pay nearly 100 grand, so I don't think we had a chance to turn that down. Then going out on loan, lots of young players from the club, a few that we've bought in the summer which we'll look at on the ins. The only 2 that are really worth a mention is Max Dodd. We talked about him potentially coming back and being involved in the first team, but he's just not quite good enough yet. So he's gone to Swindon for a year. He played there last season, did a really good job for them. I'm sure he'll do the same again. And then the other one is James Trafford, the 3rd choice keeper. He went off to Newport County on loan. He's only going to be a backup there as well, but a good one to get off the wage bill. He's probably the only player going out we haven't replaced yet. There are one or two more we're looking at leaving the club. If I go and have a look at it, James Simpson is the other one. Potentially Manny Cook on loan as well. But James Simpson, we got a random offer of 210 grand, and I don't think we can turn that down for him. He's worth £12,000. He's a backup centre-half. Even his potential ability is no better than our current first choice. At 22, he's not really improved a great deal off the pitch. I just feel like it's an opportunity we can't refuse. He's been a really good player for us, made 89 appearances, first choice in that promotion winning campaign from League 2 and 2 decent seasons in League 1, but he's not really set the world alight and he's not improving quickly enough, so I think that's one we have to accept, to be honest. If we go and have a look at our ins though, it's a big long list we've got to get through, so let's catch our breath and then start. And there's going to be plenty of youngsters coming from top tier clubs and plenty of others that we've just picked up on free agent deals. So you've probably got used to the 2 tiers now. All the youngsters will be at the top, and then at the bottom all these free agents will be the ones in their 20s, the ones that we're a bit more used to, the ones that have played games in lower league before and maybe just haven't reached their potential at other clubs, and we're snapping them up with the hope of doing the same. So first is Lawrence Williams-Bowers from Chelsea on a free. He's gone on loan to Hereford since, a right winger with 1.5 star ability. Good personality, really determined. I'm sure he will improve with first team football, and he looks like a player who's got high potential, so we're willing to give him a chance at just 17 years of age. The next on the list is another one from a Premier League team, Matt Edwards from Arsenal, a central midfielder. 18-year-old Irishman, gone to Havant and Waterlooville. He's an under-19 international for Ireland as well, actually. A decent passer of the ball, a good determination stat again. Looks like he will improve with first team football again. His natural fitness is a bit of a concern, but he's one that's worth taking a punt on. Third is someone we've been looking at for a long time and probably the first that will be involved in our first team this year. Xavier Simons is a player we've tried to loan before. From Watford, a young central midfielder, 23 years of age, 3-star ability, 4-star potential, physically sensational, mentally okay, technically not a bad player but more defensive minded, and it does give us the option to go to a 3 in midfield but with a holding midfielder rather than a central midfielder. We've got 2 players that fit into that tactic, so we may well go for that today just to give us a bit more solidity at the back. But a first really good signing of the season for us, and I think he's going to be involved more than we initially expected. Then fourth is Niall John, who fits into the same category. From Derby at 23, 2.5 ability, 3-star ability, 4-star potential, 2.5 when he joined the club, but it's changed since then. Most of that's because he's 2-footed. He's not the best player technically or mentally. Physically very quick, good running off the ball, but I'm not sure he's going to have such an impact immediately. Probably a backup to Simons in whatever role he plays, and again can drop into that deep line role if need be. Has got experience in the Football League with Port Vale, so it's not like he's never played at this level before. It's just that he's not got a great deal of experience behind him, and that mentally he's probably a little bit less mature. Fifth on the list is Matt Everett. He's on a free from Swansea, the left winger. 23 years of age, 3-star ability, 4-star potential. Are you noticing a pattern yet? They're all players that just haven't quite taken that kick on at the Championship, so we're giving them a chance at League 1. Again, play for Port Vale and for Southend in the Football League. A winger who can play on the wide midfield area or in that advanced role that we use at the moment. 18 under 21 caps for Ireland. Good player on just £2 a week. And very good crosser of the ball and plenty of pace. Again, we've just got to try and improve him mentally. So plenty of these players going into the mentoring group. That's why we're keeping the likes of Jake Gallagher, as he's going to be crucial to these players' success, and hopefully he'll be able to get the best out of some. Then finally of those youngsters is Mason Saxon. He come on a free from Liverpool, the young right back. He's gone on loan to Ebbsfleet, who shocked us in the FA Cup last year, of course, as he hasn't got any experience at any sort of level. He's very aggressive, good bravery, very good physically as well at this age, and again quite good technically, to be honest. Got all the key attributes, potentially a centre half in making, but we've got to get him to master right back first. But at 18 he's got plenty of time to improve, already got 2-star ability, and I'd imagine he could become a backup right back for us. We might even recall him if James Simpson goes. On to the more senior signings, and although it's not ideal, I have brought Mark King back on loan from Leeds. We were looking for someone who wouldn't go on international duty every month, but I haven't been able to find someone better, so I thought let's just fix it for 35 games rather than worrying about having no one. So he's a right-sided centre-half. He's come in with 3-star ability again. Played alongside Walker last year. You all know him very well. Got 3 goals in 41 appearances and had a really solid season, and I'd expect him to do exactly the same again this year. So we're looking forward to having him alongside again. And next is Dimitri Sierra, backup striker, replacement for Dominic Samuels and Manny Cook. Good player at 25 actually. Under 20 caps for France, £2.5 a week, got plenty of potential still. Not quite reached it, he's had a few injury troubles, though he has scored a lot of goals for Exeter in the lower end of the Football League. 2.5 ability at present, and he looks a bit better than that on paper if I'm being honest. He's a good advanced forward, he likes to run in behind too, and gives real competition to John King for the first time. 4 more to go. The first one's not really worth looking at. Taschek, just a bit of a calculated gamble. We got him on a free from Cardiff Met Uni. He's gone on loan to Wealdstone already. 1.5 ability, 4.5 potential. Good young striker. I'm sure he'll do a job eventually. He's sort of on the same mould as Thomas Anthony. I was just hoping we can nick a profit from somewhere. So at 18, we'll monitor his progress. But now we're on to 3 more senior signings. Jack Nolan is the new backup left winger. He's the replacement for Ogbene on a free. Worth 300 grand already, so hopefully we can do the same with him next summer, maybe get a bit of a sell on for him. 2.5 ability, 3.5 potential, will compete with Everett for that first choice slot on the left wing. In my opinion, he looks better on paper. Everett of course got all the pace and trickiness that the winger should have, but Jack Nolan, a much better footballer all round, can also play naturally off the right cutting in, a good player who's good, decent technically, decent mentally, and he's also very good technically as well. He's got all those attributes to a sort of 11 or 12 rating, just a very solid footballer across the board. Then 2 more to go. Reid is the penultimate one, currently in our under-23 squad at 19 years of age. A good attacking midfielder, doesn't really fit our tactic. We'll probably loan him out before the end of the window. 2.5 ability, 4-star potential, very good mentally for a young player. Physically he's quite strong as well, just technically he's got to improve a bit, and I'm sure that will come with time. But an under-21 international for Northern Ireland, loads of experience over at Cliftonville too, so a good player that we're looking forward to working with. I'm hoping he's going to become something a bit special. And then finally this morning, the replacement centre-half, Harvey Ruiz, the man who joined us on a free. He was our second choice, but the other one left us for St Mirren, so he's come in at 3-star ability, 3-star potential. Again, 23 years of age, experience at Portsmouth and over in Bulgaria's second division for some reason, but a decent young player, just mentally a bit behind, but technically and physically he's got all the attributes. So in my opinion, a slightly better backup when we do lose the likes of Walker and King to international duty. To have Rue and Wilson should give us a slightly stronger base, but of course they're nowhere near the same level again, and we are still going to have a few difficulties, but I'm really impressed with these young players coming in, and even the experienced ones are sort of 23 or 24. So that completes the action at the moment. Let's go and look at the pending deals as well. As we mentioned, James Simpson going out permanently probably, just because the deal was too good to refuse. Taschek's gone on loan, Manny Cook also potentially going out, and let's go and look at the ins as well. We're looking at a young right back, Femi James from MK Dons. He's out of contract, again one we've been watching for a couple of years. Looks a really good player at Simpson's level already at 19, but a player that needed 120 grand in compensation, so we're just waiting to see if we can get him a bit cheaper, to be honest. I'll put in an inquiry and we'll see what happens. So Femi James could be joining the club next. And then we've still got Aitchison coming through in January, a really good young striker who could become third choice. We've got to get working on that personality though, so the sooner he joins us the better for the club, and probably his development as well, to be honest. Let's go and look at Pat Murphy. Our director of football tried to bring him in, a really good young striker. I will go and have a look to see if we can loan him in. They were talking about the wage contribution. Can we not afford 10% a week? I think we can. What's wrong with that? Let's try and get him to the end of the season. It's certainly worth a punt. We've got a loan space in the squad, and he looks like he's going to be a superstar, so potentially gives us another option out wide. With all of those done, let's go and have a look at the dynamic screen. Everything looking very good, but the team cohesion's obviously dropped a bit. It's now just average, as we've got a lot of new players in the squad, although the top influencers obviously haven't changed. John King's gone into the team leaders alongside Moles and Smith. Mitchell and Gallagher still there as professional players in a highly influential scene, and then quite a lot have moved up to influential now. We've got a few players with decent personalities there too, so everything looking decent in that regard. I will go and quickly look at the tactics screen just to talk about what we were planning with Simons. So initially I want to try and keep the same tactic to make it as familiar as possible for the lads. The only difference is Moles will become a Mazzala on the right side of the three again. Simons will be a central defensive midfielder, just so he can sit in front of that back four. If we need to, we will then drop him in here. We've seen that Niall John can do that as well, but ideally I'd like to avoid that if possible, particularly as we've got more threat going forward now. We have got a really solid back five. It's just the goalkeeper that we could ideally do with improving. So we're looking for another goalkeeper to become first choice. Harry Campbell's wanted. We could then sell him on. Ironically, it was Tottenham that wanted him. I presume as a third or fourth choice keeper, just as a backup in case needed. But at 30 years of age, we'd certainly send him if we could. We're looking at loaning out Humphreys Durnley as well. Another young player who's dropped down the pecking order. And it's the sort of one who probably just needs some football now. So hopefully he'll be able to go and get that. And then of the ones we wanted to sell, Dominic Samuels the only one we've we've not been able to get rid of. He's still on the transfer list looking for a new club himself. Otherwise, he's starting to decline at 32 and he's only going to get used in emergency circumstances. But otherwise, a pretty decent window in my opinion. Let me know in the comments, of course, what you think of it. Who's going to be the stars? Who's going to be the players that we end up regretting selling? Is there anyone, maybe Ogbene? He's possibly the one that could unlock a defence. But otherwise, now we've got a really decent looking squad, just filling a page quite nicely there. And the only change, as I mentioned, is probably a first choice keeper for Campbell. Otherwise, there's not too much going to be happening now. I'm still tempted to keep Manny Cook as a third choice striker, but my thought process was, with him improved personality now, maybe we could try and get him out and get some football. Hopefully then he would improve a bit more. Off the pitch he's been doing good work last season, so on the pitch now he needs to get some action, and that's the idea from Yeovil in the National League. But otherwise, we've kept most of our stars from last season, particularly the loan ones that were in at the club. Jack Walker stays, Callum Dalton stays, John King stays as well. And obviously Mark King rejoining for a second spell. There's 4 players there that were crucial to our success last season. And we'll be hoping we can challenge for the playoffs this year. As in League 1, we want to improve every season. If we go and have a look at the season preview, we're predicted to finish 6th, just above Charlton actually. So it's very close there for the final playoff place. So it's between us, Charlton, Doncaster, Chesterfield, Lincoln, Oxford, and then even Bristol Rovers and Bolton are up there. The odds aren't really huge across the board. It looks like it's going to be a very tight division this year. No real superstar clubs, although there are 3 big reputation ones at the top. And more importantly, not many small clubs this season. A lot of ones that have been familiar in League 1 for years. The most important positive news as we go into the season is we haven't got any injury news to worry about at all. As we did mention in seasons like this, one of the pitfalls is the players coming a bit later in the window, particularly where you're looking for more experienced ones after they're released on the 1st of July. And that means that a few of the players aren't match fit yet, so I'm expecting 3 or 4 before we probably get to our peak. So let's look at the schedule to see the start of the season. 2 away games early on, Southend and Blackpool. Bolton at home, that's going to be a tricky one too. And Championship Millwall in the Carabao Cup. But by the time we get to the likes of Scunthorpe at home, who are favourites to get relegated, I'll be hoping we'll be starting to find our form and our first 11 will be almost match fit then. So of course we'll be back in the next episode with our first 2 league games of the season, Southend away and then Bolton Wanderers at home. But if you did enjoy this episode and that really busy transfer special at the start of the season, unexpected after what we predicted in the end of season review, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments who you think the best signing is, who you think's going to be a flop if anyone. Do you think I'm going to regret selling any of the 3 permanent deals? Do you think I can afford to turn down that deal for James Simpson? For me, I think as a backup we have to accept 200 grand, and it has brought our finances back into the black. We're now up to about $500,000 in positives. That's because we've sold a few on. We've also managed to get the season ticket sales and a bit of financial play as well. But of course that is going to drop as the season goes on, and without an FA Cup run we'll finish in the red again. Of course, as always, get your predictions in early. Where do you think we're going to finish this season? Let me know in the comments what position you think it'll be. We'll see who's right at the end of the year. Of course, it's always good fun. I'm not quite predicting a playoff place yet. I think we might finish 7th if I'm being honest, and that would still be an improvement on 8th last year. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for daily FM20 content from both of my long-term stories. As we mentioned, the last 2 episodes from the head coach have both been involved in plenty of transfers. We had a summer transfer special, then we had transfer deadline day as well. Both of those featured our first 2 games of the season too. So make sure you go and check that one out if you haven't already. I really do appreciate your ongoing support with that. At the Tycoon Gnome Club, there's always plenty of drama, and I certainly wasn't short in those episodes either. In this one, we'll be back on Thursday with our first 2 league games of the League 1 season. Can we improve on our 8th place finish? Can we keep the finances to a manageable level? And have we move into another new home at Dagenham and Redbridge as we move over due to Crawley's ground expansion? Are we going to be able to do it at a 3rd new ground in 3 years, or are we going to have a bit more trouble this time? Into London, so we're going to be one of the capital clubs. Should give us a few more derbies as well. But I wouldn't bank on success quite this early, as we've got a lot of young players to get used to in the squad. Finally, I'm part of a podcast that does matchday vlogs and interviews, and you can see the link to the matchday vlogs in the eye above. A massive thank you for your continued support with those. We really do appreciate it. We've also got a couple of new series. So we've talked about injuries in depth. It was a pretty hard-hitting, serious discussion. And we've also got a new series called You Are the Ref, where it's just a bit of a light-hearted look at controversial refereeing scenarios, unusual ones, and asking people what they would do. So I hope you enjoy all of that, and make sure you go and subscribe to the podcast too. We really do have a great time making it, and it's sort of that niche chat in a pub you'd expect with mates. But a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support as we move into another season. I really do greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for our first games of the season, where fingers crossed we can get Dorking Wanderers off to a positive start.